English practice today from podcast SBS News Morning News of 13th June 2024. Changes to visa rules to stop what the government calls visa hopping. A report by the United Nations finds both Hamas and Israel have committed war crimes. Australians Aria Titmus and Mobile Kahan both beat the 200-meter freestyle world record. The federal government is making it more difficult for foreign citizens to carry out what is called visa hopping. Additional measures will come into effect from July the 1st to tighten regulations around those coming to Australia to study. The changes will close two pathways the federal government says are being used to subvert offshore students' integrity measures. Visitor visa and temporary graduate visa holders will no longer be able to apply for student visas onshore. Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill says in a statement, the visitors to student pathway has become increasingly prevalent, with over 36,000 applications since 1st of July 2023 to the end of May 2024. Ms. O'Neill says the change aims to reduce the numbers of people who are likely to become permanently temporary. United States Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says some changes proposed by Hamas to the Gaza ceasefire deal are not workable. The deal, as outlined by U.S. President Joe Biden, sets out conditions for a full and complete ceasefire, the release of hostages held by Hamas, the return of dead hostages remains, and the exchange of Palestinian prisoners. Speaking in Doha after meeting Qatar's Prime Minister, Mr. Blinken says he wants to see a resolution. While Qatar's Prime Minister says Qatar, in its role as a mediator, wants a permanent ceasefire. Quote, United States, Qatar, and Egypt as guarantor for this process to ensure this negotiation keeps going until we reach the permanent ceasefire. It is something significant that we are putting ourselves at stake. It is not an easy process. It is a very complex negotiation. Quote. The so-called teal MPs who won traditionally safe Liberal seats in the last federal election say the stance by the federal opposition on its climate change policy will alienate voters at the upcoming election. Opposition leader Peter Dutton has refused to commit to 2030 emission reduction targets, confirming he won't announce the coalition's proposed target before the election. Independent federal MP Kylia Tink won the previously safe Liberal seat of North Sydney at the last election campaigning on the issue of climate change. She says the federal position stance on climate change is out of step with the perspective of voters in her electorate. Quote, I'm feeling like North Sydney are going to continue to express its voice very loudly that we need to move forward. If the opposition continues to move down its path, I think it is the extinction of the opposition that they are facing, not the extinction of our planet. Because Australians have had enough of this sort of climate denialism, and they want to see us take advantage of all the opportunities that are presented to us. Quote, Sexual and domestic assault reports have spiked in New South Wales during the past 5 years in quarterly data released by the New South Wales Bureau of Crime Statistics. Crime data shows 4 major offences have increased dramatically, with non-domestic assaults and motor vehicle theft reports also rising. There has been a 42% drop in sexual assault reports in the 12 months leading to March 2024 compared with 5 years ago. A spokesman for the Bureau says it's likely some of the rise was a real increase in sexual assault occurrences rather than simply more people bringing reports to police. Early education and family services industry leaders are looking to improve First Nations policy decision-making in the sector. More than 200 delegates have gathered in Victoria for the inaugural summit aimed at developing a strengthened-based definition of Aboriginal early years policy in the state. Federal and state government representatives will address the summit later today. Lisa Thorpe is the CEO of Pop-Up William Aboriginal Child and Family Center. She says the gathering is an opportunity to put First Nations self-determination at the forefront of funding and policy discussions. Quote, the government is only ever funded the end of the line, as in childhood protection, justice, criminal justice system, as in everything has a negative or a deficit. They should think about funding the upstream. Early childhood development is prevention. We teach our children to be strong. We teach our children connectedness. We teach our children identity, and they can learn who they are as an Aboriginal person, and they can also learn how they can fit in the mainstream world. Quote. And in swimming, Ariane Titmus has broken the 200-meter freestyle world record, delivering a strong performance in front of a hometown crowd at Australia Olympic Swimming Selection Trials in Brisbane. The 23-year-old clocked 1 minute and 52.23 seconds. That's 0.60 seconds faster than the previous record set at last year's World Championships by Molly O'Callaghan. O'Callaghan was also in the same race and beat the time she set last year by 0.37 seconds, the second fastest time in history. Titmus now holds the 200 meters and 300 and 400 meters freestyle world records and is running Olympic championship in both events. Olympic champion in both events. And that is all for this practice.